Welcome back. I'm Rain, and I'm joined by Ithaca, and we're going to be commentating Northern Coalition versus Snuffed Out. So Northern Coalition circumvented those ship bans of Guardian Oneros and brought a Rabisu, a double Hurricane, a double Fleet Hurricane, Navy Brutix, Curse, double Harbinger, double Vexer, and a Daredevil.
So on the other side, Snuffed Out, who are all in at 50, have brought dual Rattlesnakes, Basilisk, Ferrex, Stork, Hawk, double Moa, double Caracal. So this one's going to be pretty difficult for Snuffed Out here, because that Rabisu is a very strong ship. They basically have to get in and try and kill that Rabisu before they can basically kill anything else. So those two Moas have to just brawl in, get that Rabisu locked down, and then he's going to be screened for by his friend in the Daredevil. So this is really, Snuffed have got a long way to go for this one.
Yeah, and the thing about the Rabisu that's quite different than other logistics ships, say the Guardian and Oneros, for easy example, is obviously it's an armor repair ship, but then it also has a bonus to Newts and Nos in its highs, so it will not only have defensive modules like every other Alliance tournament Logi ship, but it will also have some offensive capability. So even if those MOAs go out on it, it can try and newt those MOAs and get itself free.
Yeah, it should be interesting as well to see if these rattlesnakes start providing capacitor to this basilisk in some sort of pseudo tinker. When we'll see that as soon as the match starts in about 1 second now. So immediately we're seeing them turn and start to burn away. So these might be cruise rattlesnakes with a long distance.
Yep, and we do see that Hawk actually going in to try and attempt to get tackle. I think he kind of regretted that decision as he immediately started taking damage from that battle cruiser core, and he turned back away.
Yeah, Rabisu is pretty much the only target that Snuff can really go for here, because as we say, it just reps so much, especially on these Hurricanes and the other ships there. So if they can't kill this Rabisu before they start bleeding off their own ships, then they don't stand a chance. But they are doing pretty decent work on the shields of the Rabisu, so once they hit armor, we'll see how well that damage is applying.
Yeah, and you can see the Rabisu already has, I would say, armor Logibots applied to him, as well as he will probably have a local rep.
Yeah, there's just absolute swarms of armor bots around them. You definitely don't want to be losing your Rabisu. It's an expensive loss a win at this point in the tournament.
Yeah, and actually, so it looks like those rattlesnakes sending over heavy drones, and they're actually being shot off the field before they can even reach their target, which would be that Rabisu. You can see these battle cruisers actually shooting the Predators, and then some of the other drones on the field are actually rep bots that are also being shot at.
Yeah, so it looks like NC, as you say, just sort of defying the Snuff rattlesnakes, killing those drones before they can even get near them. The Snuffed Out team deciding to switch onto that Daredevil and the Curse test the repping power of that Rabisu. But I mean, this is going to be a bit of a stalemate for a while until one team messes up. So either NC is going to defang a lot of the Snuffed Out damage and then just slowly work through them, or we'll see Snuffed Out start to break one of these ships under Rabisu reps.
Yeah, and I struggle to believe that Snuff would actually manage to break Rabisu reps. The Rabisu is very, very strong. Obviously, it's the same amount of points as any other Logi ship, a T2 Logi ship, but at the same time, it's also, I would say, maybe at least 10 times the price, if not higher, for the Alliance tournament.
Yeah, I mean, the Rabisu is very similar to the Itana in that sense. Obviously, it's an armor Itana. They are prized pretty much for their power to evade these bans. I mean, you can see here Guardian Oneros ban, you can still bring your armor fleet with your Rabisu instead. So the price does spike just before Alliance tournament for both of those ships. The Basilisk in the Snuffed Out Hawk take a little bit of damage, but the Basilisk, repping the Basilisk, no problem.
Yeah, it seems like both of these teams have just kind of balled up. Obviously, they've all been doing defensive screening rather than like offensive trying to push in. And it's kind of a stalemate to see who's actually going to attack first. Looks like Snuff has actually given up on attempting to use drones just for the fact that Northern Coalition has attempted to defang them so quickly.
Yeah, as you say, bit of a stalemate. The two teams are just sitting at opposite sides of the arena, making rude gestures at each other, trying to bait the other side to come rushing in. But neither side taking the bait right now. Although we are seeing, looks like the Brutixes on the NC side are starting to charge towards the Snuffed Out side. Looks like they're happy that they defanged enough damage. They're going for the Basilisk, actually. He's taking a lot of damage. He is boosting, but he is painted and he is neuted. So if they can remove this Snuffed Out Basilisk this early, well, I say this early, but at this point in the match, then NC would just be able to clean up.
Yeah, so we have the Curse actually going in and neuting that Basilisk, giving him a lot of pressure. Obviously, the Basilisk is not generally kept stable, and even less so in the Alliance tournament when they have to keep their whole team and themselves alive. It looks like he actually did dip into a little bit of armor, but he managed to boost himself back up, as well as having that swarm of repair bots on him.
Yeah, he is just sort of struggling there to hold on a little bit of shield, but he is stabilizing there. Those curse newts, of course, will be taking effect as the match continues. Capacitor Warfare just becomes more and more effective. Once he gets capped out completely, we'll see his hardeners turn off, and his boosts will stop coming as effectively. But as now, he is still tanking, and we are still 0-0, 4 minutes into this match.
Actually, so the Basilisk, I kind of zoomed in on him, and with all of these effects, I can't really tell, but it actually looks like both Rattlesnakes and the Ferox are cap transferring him. Even though the Basilisk does have a lot of cap pressure on him, he seems to be sitting pretty with the rest of his team, giving him that support.
Yeah, sudden target switch there by the NC guys onto a Caracal there, just putting him into pretty low, no armor left, and into hull, and he's hit shot again. The Basilisk struggling to keep him up as he gets just shot through all these buffer. If they lose a single ship here, this could just be the start of a snowball effect. The Basilisk now taking more damage, and as you say, a bit of a pseudo-tinker thing going on here, and we are still in a bit of a stalemate as both teams just try to out-juke the other one and just kill something.
Yeah, I was say, mad props to this Basilisk pilot for actually catching that Caracal. I know sometimes you get so caught up you can barely keep yourself alive, let alone your team, but he is doing actually really well for being primaried as well as having his team being switched on and off. And I'm actually a little interested because these Caracals actually haven't seen. I would assume that they would primary maybe these Vexers or that Daredevil, but it doesn't seem that they would be within effective range to unload those rapid lights.
So just for any, oh, that Caracal there getting shot again into very low hull. He's only got a tiny amount of buffer left. That Basilisk needs to be keeping his reps on that Caracal pretty much at all times. Just for anyone who's watching and isn't aware what a pseudo tinker we called it is this Basilisk has got his own very cap hungry repair modules to repair his own shield, and he's being fed capacitor by the Rattlesnakes, by the Ferox, and allowed him to run those even under the curse newts. And that means he doesn't have to run an XLASB, which of course is limited to just 9 charges. And a Stork is down, so that is at 6 points to NC. Are they going to snowball here? Are they going to take this Caracal down? That was just a really good target switch by NC onto that Stork with very low amount of buffer. He was just volleyed off the field immediately there.
Yeah, so the Stork also not only is there for, I would say, maybe like a tackle wing, but he's also there critically for links. And without links, your team can really, I would say, like, I won't say fail skate maybe. Those links actually give you a little extra edge. So they still have the Ferox for links, but I'm not sure they can hopefully maybe bounce back from this.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like Sharp As and the Basilisk was doing such a great job for basically all of about 6 minutes, but the pressure being, you know, a tinker logistics. There's so many buttons you have to push to try and keep yourself up and keep all your friends alive. As NC, you're going to be swapping targets back and forward. It's a very stressful job, and he did it really well. I mean, NC is a good team. So, I mean, for him to keep the rest of his friends up, especially this Caracal over here, which is just sitting pretty in a 11% structure, I mean, that's, you know, great piloting by Sharp As.
Yeah, and good target calling on NC Dot. It takes a, oh wow. They actually burned through that Caracal. The rest of his buffer didn't work, and they just volleyed him directly off the field. It seems like what they're doing is, I would say maybe trying to juke that Basilisk pilot, or maybe all of the snuffed out pilots, and then suddenly applying all of their gun damage to one ship or another to try and break through those reps. Very smart on their part.
Yeah, it's a third ship down there on the snuffed out side. They've now lost the Storkhawk and one of those Caracals. I mean, at this point, NC, they pretty much just have to just not lose anything, and they're pretty much okay to take this victory. The Basilisk, of course, as his friends die, should be easier to keep the rest of them alive, but as I say that, a Caracal deleted from the field, NC Dot selecting them, hitting the delete button, he is gone.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised by the snuffed out team. It looks like this curse is actually sitting rather close to them. It doesn't even look like he's giving too much cap pressure. It looks more like that target disruptors, but they're actually not primarying him at all. I don't know quite which are snuffed out who they're actually shooting. I don't know if maybe they ran out of drones, but if you look, their attack bar is not only rather small, but they're also not really applying any of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think this could just be kind of a morale thing as well. I mean, they know they've lost a couple of ships. They know they can't break the tank on any of the ships, but the Rabisu is repping, and they can't break the Rabisu tank either. So, I mean, it's got to feel pretty bad to be sitting in such a situation where you feel that you just can't kill a single ship. So it could be they're just sort of, maybe not giving up is the wrong way to say it, but they're starting to feel the pressure after 8 minutes of struggling.
Yeah, for sure. And as I say, this Basilisk pilot has done pretty well, but obviously it has not been enough with the NC Dot target calling. Now all they have left is that Ferox for links, the Basilisk with reps, and then those double Rattlesnakes. And I'm not quite sure how many drones those Rattlesnakes have left since NC Dot has been shooting them off the field at the beginning of the match.
Yeah, so unless they basically stop boosting, which it looks like maybe the Basilisk is deciding, yeah, he didn't boost at all there. I'm pretty sure even with the the pressure from the curse for those two rattlesnakes and that Ferox feeding him cap, he could have kept them alive for the rest of the match. But I think looking at local, they decided not to bother and just let themselves be finished off in the last 1 minute 20 seconds.
Yeah, so I believe this aligns for me. We have not seen a lot of Tinkers or a lot of big, I would say like big balls of DPS like that. But yeah, I mean, they've tried, and obviously it didn't work. But again, Northern Coalition, I believe, finished top 4 last year. So losing to Northern Coalition isn't really like too big of a blow.
Yeah, I mean, Snuffed Out definitely pushed Northern Coalition. I mean, that went 6 minutes of just kind of like back and forward, both teams vying to get that first like key kill. And in the end, NC just executed that one pretty well. They sort of defanged the rattlesnakes. They were careful. They switched their targets back and forward. They knew that Caracal was a bit weak, and they kept just putting pressure on it to pressure Sharpaz in the Basilisk, and eventually just a little bit too much for them.
Yeah, with 30 seconds left on the clock, NC has to be, quote-unquote, cleaning up the field with those rattlesnakes, but I'm not quite sure if they're going to be able to do that in time.
Yeah, and as we said, the first rattlesnake dropping into Hull. The second one won't be long, 15 seconds though, so maybe this rattlesnake can survive to go back and tell his friends to get good and stop dying, but it looks like with 8 seconds to go, he won't. There's one remaining. JA in the rattlesnake is the sole survivor on the Snuffed Out side. He's going to be smuggling to his friends, but unfortunately that is the end of the road for Snuffed Out. And we'll hand this one back to the guys in the studio.
We've got the Kings of Lowsec with Project Mayhem.
Hey guys, welcome back. Fantastic game there. That's the kind of game where the first 5 minutes, all the decisions, all the jockeying is something I think that a lot of people who are interested in the AT are just going to really break down and analyze using our tool at the EVNT website, because that's like really highest level decision making when you've got everything alive. But of course, when they just managed to barely headshot that stork, that meant that a bunch of links went down, which meant they couldn't hold tank on the Caracals anymore, as they don't have T to resist, they don't have the resist bonus of the Moa, and then Snuff just slowly fell to pieces. Really nicely slow played there by NC. Snuff made a good attempt at breaking things, but didn't quite manage to. We actually have a really cool picture from the Alt Gaming Lounge to show you guys, show you what fun you're missing from not showing up. We have a couple of the staff members here. I think they were playing Overwatch together or PUBG or something, just like battling it out. Or maybe they were doing practice to set up their own Alliance tournament team. The EVNT Alliance tournament team would actually be pretty cool. But yeah, cool. Go down, check out Alt Lounge with your friends. Either come down today to watch the AT with us or just check it out in the future. We saw in that match something that is definitely worth explaining for the people who aren't necessarily AT guys all year round, is you have the concept of a pseudo-tinker as brought out by Snuffbox in that match. So Reload, would you give us kind of like the basics of what a pseudo-tinker is compared to a regular tinker, and then obviously what both of those actually mean and the origin of it?
Okay, so a pseudo-tinker is basically you have a Basilisk or an antenna can work as well, where basically you have a top heavy core, so you have the 2 rattlesnakes and the Ferox, which you're feeding it capacitor transfer. So basically they had capacitor transfers fed, they're allowed this AT. So basically what was happening is the Basilisk just went full tank and full reppers, because it doesn't need a cap booster, because it's self-reliant. It isn't self-reliant. It's reliant on those rattlesnakes and Feroxes to feed it capacitor transfers, so it can use its reppers and it can use its shield boosters, because it tanked for an extremely long time. In fact, it probably could have tanked forever. So, and a difference between that and a tinker, well, a tinker is mostly used as either a tech free, so a Tengu or a Loki. And basically, it's the same thing. It's feeding capacitor transfer, but usually you run an undermanned setup. So instead of it being the full 10-man like Snuffed, you'd usually run like a 6 or 7-man, and it would basically be all battleships and command ships, and basically it'll be a super turtle. Basically, if anything dies, it's basically game over, but you're extremely tanky and very hard to break because the tank has extremely short range, but it has so much reps.
Well, we have the winner of the voting between NC and Snuff that we just saw. That is Bruce Ernaga. Bruce Ernaga, congratulations for your billion-esque that you're about to receive. I have another graph ready for you guys. This is a graph of the use of tackle ships. So ships we consider to be light tackle or fast tackle ships. Nico, will you take us through this graph and talk to us about the advantages and why the most popular ships are perhaps the most popular?
Yeah, so Daredevil, no surprise that being a top one. We have seen it being a very, very regular pick during this tournament. Daredevil, one of those frigates that is very much unmatched for its usefulness in damage application. Having dual or even just a single weapon on it with the bonuses that the Daredevil hull gets, very, very nice there. Punisher coming in at a close second there. Again, lots of damage from that frigate. It's also a very tanky frigate as well, so it's very, very good to have on the field. Magus and Stork also coming in third and fourth here, along with the Pontifex. So yeah, those command destroyers getting a little more popular, and then we see falling into the Vengeance and the Bifrost. So yeah, very much so on those top 3 picks this tournament, and to be honest, you know, no surprises with the Daredevil.
And it's worth mentioning, of course, that this is a Serpentis sponsored tournament, so the Daredevil gets the 2-point reduction down from 4 points to 2 as a pirate frig. So at the cost of a T1 frig, you get a whole Daredevil. As we saw the Cruor be very popular last year, we're seeing the Daredevil be very popular this year. Moving on, as we must look at the next match. It is going to be, as my nerves rise as I've just seen the match after this one, but we'll get to that when we get to it. We've got Exodus coming up against Rote Capel. Exodus have a flag Balgorn ready, going up against Rote Capel. Exodus beating We Want Your Isk and Thermodynamics thus far in the winners bracket. Rote Capel beating Rejection of Sovereignty and Fraternity. So killing both Thermodynamics and Fraternity on either side. Both of those are pretty strong teams. We're expecting a lot of them this year. So Exodus and Rote have definitely already got some big kills under their belt each. Rote Capel, it looks like they did not elect a flagship. Exodus having that Balgorn ready. I think this is kind of a match of times past. You know, both of these teams, very high tournament pedigree. There was a while where Exodus were failing to kind of match the times. Kind of, they used to be, you know, top 14, then for a couple of tournaments they went down to top 8, top 16, still obviously very good, but not quite what we expected them. But then more recently back up to where we expect, you know, the team Exodus to be. Nico, what do you think of these matches? You know, Rote Capel is another team that has always kind of diminished over time, but we haven't seen them regain that strength. They went 1 and 3 in the feeder rounds, of course. I'm pretty sure they went 1 and 3 in the feeder rounds. So what do you think about this match? Do you think Rote Capel can bring it to Exodus, or are we going to see a pretty one-sided match?
To be honest, my predictions today haven't been going too well. Let's start with that. Yeah, I think I'm going to save reserve judgment on this one until I've seen the ship compositions here, because I really think it's going to be down to the picks on this one. But I am slightly leaning towards the Exodus side at this point.
Okay, well, we have the bans coming through. Exodus have banned Deacon, Brutix Navy issue. Now, that's an interesting ban going on here. And then we have Rote Capel banning the Orthrus and the Scimitar. They do not want to face Rapid Lights. So, Relo, tell me a little about what those bans mean to you.
I'm pretty confused, actually. Brutix Navy ban, that's actually pretty common. But a Deacon ban, I'm pretty interested. What are they scared of, like some low sig radius repping? Are they trying to bait out a Nero's Guardian? And then on the Rote side, the banned Orthrus and the Simi, correct?
Yeah, Deacon, Brutix Navy for Exodus, Orthrus Scimitar for Rote.
Okay, Orthrus, Simi, that's a pretty common ban. Simi, just a good ship to ban, and an Orthrus, which is, I mean, it has dropped off a little bit. People are favouring other Rapid Light ships like the Caracal. Caracal's is really cheap, but Orthrus still extremely strong Rapid Light all-in ship, so no surprise there.
Yeah, so let's find out what's going to happen in this match between Exodus and Rote Capel. Let's hand it over to the casters.